On today's episode of Learning, we're going to show you how to make some cool looking text in Premiere. Ooh. Hey guys, I'm Brent.
And I'm Bobby.
And you're watching
Learning with Bobby and Brent. So Brent, what are we working on today?
Alright, this is a little bit of a simpler one, but this is something that turns out is a very common question that people ask. If you actually Google search Adobe Premiere, one of the first things that comes up is how to add text in Adobe Premiere.
Okay.
So that's actually what we're going to be doing today. We're going to show you how to add some text into your Adobe video file or whatever, and we're also going to show you some of the ins and outs of the text features. So right now, as you can see on the screen here, we kind of went ahead and did a little fancy something here. We got a nice little colored Bobby and Brent here with a nice little background. So what we're going to do is we're going to show you how to do that in Premiere. So let's just jump right in. We're going to dive right in.
We're diving.
We're diving.
We're swimming.
Alright, so I already have something in here right now, so I'm actually going to delete this first so we can start from scratch.
Okay.
No shortcuts here. We're starting from scratch, people.
From the toppy.
From the tippity top. Jib jab scuba swab. So the first thing we're going to want to do is there's a couple ways we can do this. I personally like this little button down here that says create new item or new item. So if we were to click that, we could go down here and pick this one that's called title. Title is basically Premiere's name for all text stuff. So we're going to do that. We're going to make a new one called Bobby and Brent and hit OK. And that brings us up to our text screen, or title screen, whatever you would like to call it. I like to call it text because that's just me. I break the rules like that, as established in a previous video. I am a rebel. I'm a video editing rebel.
He's a rebel.
He's a rebel now. So what we got here is we got our text screen here. As you see, we got a bunch of different tools. We got some title styles. We got some junk on the side here. We're going to go ahead and go over some of these features right now to show you what you do.
Awesome.
Or what they do, I should say. So the most basic one that you're going to need to start off is the type tool, which is this guy right here, the little letter T. So as you can see, I clicked here. We got a little cursor here now that shows us we can start typing something. So I'm going to go ahead and start off by just typing Bobby and Brent as our our little title we gave it was. And I'm going to blow it up the size a little bit by increasing the font size over here, just so we can see it a little better. Well, I should go over in a little more detail what each of these little settings over here does. So now we got our text, nice and easy. That wasn't so bad. So one thing we can do now is once we add our text, as you probably noticed, it opened up all these different title properties here on the right-hand side of the screen. So let me go over what some of these do. All right, so first we have our transform section here, which has opacity, which in some of our other videos you've probably seen before. This basically shows you how much transparent a particular thing is. So if I go down to 0, you can't see it.
It's gone.
Go up to 100, it's at its maximum transparency, or lack of transparency, or whatever. So if we went to like 50%, you can sort of see the background. You can
sort of see the background.
You can see the background. Yeah, so you can. So if we had like a video under here or something, you'd be able to see that video like underneath the text here. So we'll leave it at 100% for now. Then you could move the position of this particular title or text file by using the X and Y position if you wanted to. I personally prefer using on the left the little select tool. I feel like that's a little bit easier because you can actually
drag it around.
Click and move around wherever you want. But if you wanted to get real meticulous with it and type in, like, say, a very specific X and Y coordinates, you could do that, or you can drag this way. So that's what those do. Then you have your width, which actually kind of stretches the text that you have. As you can see, we're really stretching out.
Whoa!
Going wild. Hog wild.
Wow.
So that's what that, or you could really crunch it up if you really want to squeeze it together. Do something like that. For now, I'll just kind of leave it somewhere around there. That looks good. Then we have height, which kind of does the inverse of that. So we can stretch it vertically or crunch it up so it's real small and you can't even really read it. I don't know why you would want to do that, but you could if you wanted to. So
that's your preference.
That's your preference. So we also got rotation here, so we can spin this around and around and around and around if we wanted to.
Nice.
In 360 degrees. So I'll put it back to 0 just because we want to be able to read it. I want our names in bright lights. Okay, so this is the properties section right here. So basically all this does is it allows you to change different aspects of the text. So you can see there's some spacing changes you can do. You can do, some shifts in the actual way the text is oriented. Just, different, properties for the text. So
Makes sense.
yeah. So we don't necessarily want to go over every single one and what they do. You can play around them, as you're, watching this video or something, experiment with them, because there's a lot of different things you can do with them, but it doesn't necessarily want to go into detail for every single one. So then next we got this fill section. Now this is where we can start doing some really cool stuff with the color.
Okay.
So you have your fill type here. Solid is what we have going on right now, which is just one blanket color. So which is set to white right now. Now there's a bunch of different other ones in here we can do too. We got linear gradient, radial gradient, a bunch of other different ones here too. But the one I'll show you today, just to give you the example, is a linear gradient. So I'm going to click on that, and you're going to notice all of a sudden we get this little bar here with two little square white swatches underneath. So basically what we can do now, a gradient is basically when you have something that starts as one thing and fades to another, usually with color, but you can also do it with patterns and stuff like that. So this one as a linear gradient will be color, as you can see here. So we'll go ahead, we're going to double click on this first swatch here, and then let's go with like an orange. So we'll pick that, any orange that you like will do. Now you can see already we have a little bit of a change here in our text.
Oh yeah.
You can see how it starts at the top orange and kind of fades in the middle to the white. Now we can stretch these out if we want. We can move these along. As you can see, as I'm doing it, it's changing where the fade starts and how gradual or dramatic it is. So I could, drag these really far apart and it's a really subtle fade from one to the other.
Fade, yeah.
Or I could drag them really close together and it's almost just looks like there's like a little stripe going across with the orange now, or vice versa. So I'm going to stretch them out pretty far so we get a nice gradual fade here. And then I'm going to also change my second swatch here, and I'm going to make that a yellow. So that looks pretty good to me.
Oh wow, that really makes it pop.
Yeah, so really nice pop there. Both in here and from Bobby. That was a nice pop.
Thank you.
That's satisfying.
Little fun fact about Now You Know, all the pop sound effects are from me.
Yeah, follow Bobby's ASMR channel too.
Yes. Follow my ASMR channel.
Alright, and then we have another section here called strokes. Basically we have two different styles. We have inner stroke and outer stroke. This basically will add like a colored outline either to the inner part of the text, so like inside the characters, or we could do it to the outside of the characters. So let me show you what that would look like if we were to do that. And then let's pick something like really bold that will stand out, maybe like electric blue or something.
Yeah.
And you can see right now we got this inner stroke that's going on the inside of the text, and it shows a little bit on the outside of the text too. So let's kind of just to compare and contrast, let's get rid of that, and let's go back to add an outer stroke. We'll set this to solid for fill type, otherwise it won't let you pick what color you're doing. And let's again do like an electric blue and see what that looks like.
Okay, so it's pushing outward.
Yeah, it's pushing outward instead of inward. So, I mean, they look pretty similar right now upon close inspection, so I'll kind of like adjust the size so you can kind of see a little bit more of the difference here. So we got that, and so let's go back to our inner stroke, just again to show you. We'll blow it up a little bit.
There
see how it's going into text? It's up, almost like absorbing the text that we have right now, whereas the outer stroke was on the outside and expanding outward. So that's the main difference between those two there. That can be a nice, useful effect. Then we also have shadow.
Shadow.
This one you're going to be using a lot. So before we do this one though, just so we can actually see what's going on, because right now we got this black background, and we won't really be able to see the drop shadow too well unless we change the color, which, I mean, you can do, but most of the time you're going to be sticking with a typical like gray or black drop shadow, so that looks like an actual shadow you would see in real life. So let's add a background. So check that off. We'll do a gradient again. This time we'll do radial gradient, which basically is like circular, just to kind of help you keep that straight in your head. So like our example we showed you in the beginning, let's do
like a light blue.
a nice light sort of sky blue here.
Sky blue.
For the middle. That's our little radial part. And then our stop color will be the kind of the outside of the radial color in the middle there. So in that one we'll do more like a sea foamy kind of greenish bluish color.
Ooh, there we go.
Now we're popping. But now this kind of brighter color is actually kind of making our text kind of blend, kind of not stand out as well as you might want to. It's kind of like almost hurting my eyes a little bit to look at this. So we're going to go ahead now, close that out, and then we're going to add a shadow. Now you can see how our text is starting to pop here, which is real nice.
Yeah.
So we can go in here and adjust some of our settings. Again, we have opacity, so that's how much of the shadow we see or how little. So we could really go real fine, or we could go real bold with it. I'll do somewhere in the middle, maybe 75%.
Yeah,
because that really makes it stand out real nice. You can change the angle of the shadow, so we can see like, it kind of basically is like, creates like almost like an artificial light almost. So, you know, depending on the way the light is hitting something, it casts a shadow in a certain direction. So we can adjust the angle to go whichever way we want. Somewhere around there. Feels pretty good to me. I don't know, for this example, I think this works pretty well.
Yeah.
Then you can do distance, which is how far the shadow's being cast. So we can really go really far away if we want to. Or we can keep it real tight to the point where you like almost don't see it. So again, I'm like happy medium, so somewhere in there. Oh, actually, I might even go a little less. That looks good. Then we got size, which is how big our shadow.
Thick the shadow is.
That's a thick shadow.
It's a thick shadow.
So I'll put it back to 10. That feels pretty good. Then we have spread, which kind of does a similar thing, but
it creates like a feather.
Yeah, it kind of feathers it out more. As opposed to when you just have the spread real low. It's like blocky and thick. So when you add more spread, it, like Bobby said, it feathers it out a bit. It makes it feel a little softer, more diffuse, more natural.
Man, there's a lot you can do with the shadows that make it look
There's
really
a lot you can
good.
do in this like text effect. I mean, it seems pretty basic, but you can do a lot of stuff. You can really customize.
Yeah,
I'm liking this.
Really
this is looking really good. So this is kind of like our title properties area over here. Some other stuff we can go over. We have different title styles. So say you don't want to do all this customizing or whatever, and you just want to like throw something together real quick. You could just like, let's highlight our text and just pick one.
Ooh.
It'll just do it for you. So there's a bunch of just like default ones, so you can just try them. Alright, so say we want to save this. We like this text, we want to use it again in the future. So we'd go under title styles here, and under this little docking area, we'd go to new style. Let's call this Bobby and oh my god, Bobby and Brant style. I'll save that and see how it added it here. So
there
now,
it is.
if I wanted to, I could click this and it's gonna be here for now on whenever I want
That's
it.
awesome. That's so helpful.
Super helpful, especially if you're like us and you have like similar font styles that you use a bunch over and over in your videos. You have kind of like a look that you go for, or a text look that you use a lot. This can be really helpful. So rather than having to get your settings perfect every single time, it's right there saved for you. Awesome. Presets are awesome.
Presets are cool.
And then we got some other tools over here that you may want to use at some point. You got your path type tool, so you can kind of like set like a certain path if you want your text to type out in a different way other than just straight across. You could use that.
You can use the pen tool to create the path.
Yep.
That's
So
kind of interesting.
Yeah, so you can kind of create your path or whatever. You can actually create actual lines, as you can see here too. So if you wanted to add like a little underline or something. So I guess this is kind of why they call it a title tool instead of just a text tool, because you can almost create like a title graphic from it.
Yeah.
You know, so not just the text, but shapes and, you know, different things like that too, where like you're just a general title. So
Now, one of my favorite features on this is the center tool, because you can select those two tools and it will actually center your text right in the middle of the screen.
So you can see we have these boxes here. These are back from the olden days of television editing, where basically you had to edit within these boxes because these would be the safe area in which you could edit and be sure that whatever you're putting on screen is actually going to show up and not get cut out. So like the way they used to film too when they were doing a 4:3 aspect ratio, if you were to expand out the shot, like they would frame it in a way where stuff out here would be getting cut off. So you might, like, if you were to expand it out, you would see like a sound guy with like a boom mic just hanging out the side, someone maybe eating some craft services or something. But they wouldn't care because they could frame it and they knew that this is the safe area and anything outside that wasn't going to show up anyway.
Wow.
Nowadays with, you know, high definition and wider aspect ratios, we have a lot more area to work with. But one thing that is still very important is to try to center stuff when you can. So as Bobby was saying, this stuff over here with vertical center and horizontal center can be really useful because, you know, it can be hard to kind of eyeball what's exactly center. Even with these little lines and boxes and stuff, you might not get it perfect. So using these tools to kind of like do that work for you is really useful in keeping your stuff looking professional and tidy. One thing I like to use too is our paragraph alignment. So right now we're aligned to left, so every time we add a new paragraph break, it starts to left. Sometimes you don't want everything to start to the left though. Sometimes you maybe want to center it. That gives it kind of a cool look,
Yeah,
you know?
that really makes it look professional.
Definitely. Or sometimes you might even want to do a combination of different things. You know, because we don't necessarily have to have one text layer. I can have this text layer here. I can create a new text layer that's here. Maybe it's this one center aligned. You know, or something
You can do as
like
much
that.
as you want.
So we can like do a bunch of different stuff.
And if you change the size, will it affect the size of the other text too?
No, it would just affect the size of whatever one you're working on.
It's very customizable.
Definitely, which is really helpful too, because sometimes like when we're making thumbnails and stuff for our videos, we don't just want to have this like a paragraph of text at the top. We want to have different, like some text over here and have different sizes, different colors.
Wow.
Like, so if I want to, I can change this one's color. I'll make this one just like, I don't know, like a purple or something.
Purple.
If I wanted to. That looks kind of gross on this background, but I don't care. This is just for example's sake.
Yeah.
And we'll make this ghost. I've never even used ghost before. Ooh,
Kind of makes it
spooky.
disappear, but the shadow stays.
Yeah. So I mean, you can really customize and do a bunch of different texts. Say now we want to import this into our project. So we have our, you know, our sequence down here. Right now there's nothing in it. So let's say we want to add this title layer to the beginning of our video. This is going to intro whatever our video is after this.
Yeah.
So what we could do is we take our text layer here, our title layer. We can drag into our sequence down here.
Wow, just
That
pops right on.
Pops right on, and it starts at, it gives it like an automatic length of, right now it's showing 4.5 seconds. You can adjust this as you want, so I'll expand this open a little bit. We got a little preview there what that looks like. If I want to, I can just click and drag this as long as I want it to be. So you can really adjust it in multiple different ways. Okay, so now let's say we want to use a similar text layer. Just let's say we just want to change a little bit of the text, but have it start somewhere later in the video. So I'll go here. Let's say this is the end of our video. And we're going to change this so that now it says Bloopy and Blant. Bloopy and
Blant.
Blant.
Bloopy and Blant.
Bloopy and Blant. Cool. So I'm probably thinking to myself now, cool, now I got two different little texty guys here. So I got my ending. Now let's go back to the beginning so we can watch it all the way through. But hey,
Oh,
wait a second.
it changed the original.
What? What? Why? That's weird.
That's a problem.
Yeah, that is a problem. So basically what happens is when you copy and paste it, you're really not creating a new layer. You're just having the same layer occur twice.
So anything you edit on one,
it's
also
going to
edits on
affect the other, which is a big no-no. You don't want to do that, you know, especially, you know, because now it's Bloopy and Blant's bloop at both ends, and we don't want to give away that Bobby and Brent are going to become Bloopy and Blant.
Yeah.
That's spoilers.
Yeah,
Come
that's
on.
spoilers. We can't give that away.
So I'm going to Control-Z a couple times.
So how do we do it so that we create a new text layer that looks exactly the same but won't affect the first one?
The easiest way to do it, which Bobby and myself actually kind of just recently discovered, is if you hold Alt and you click drag over to where you want it, and make sure you hold down Alt the whole time while you're doing this. As you're going to see, we created a new copy both up here and down here.
Wow.
So now this is its own special layer. It's not, you know, just a copy of the same layer. It's become its own special copy. So now if I want to change this to say Bloopy and Blant, Bloopy, Blant, I'm sticking with this, Bloopy and Blant, no, just one T. And now if we were to go back to the beginning,
No spoilers.
no spoilers, it's Bobby and Brent,
is still
then we have our 30-second story about how we become Bloopy and Blant, and then Bloopy and Blant's bloop, blah, 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 blah. So now we have two layers here. So that's a really important tip because you don't want to, you know, be copying and pasting text layers and stuff and thinking that, oh, I can just use this over again and kind of change stuff, and then you go and export your video, upload it to YouTube or something, and then all of a sudden you find out, oh crap,
All your text.
all our texts say the same thing. Oh
Yeah.
gosh, we've had personal experience of accidentally doing this in
Yep.
videos. So you don't want that to happen to you.
It's not fun.
Passing the knowledge along to you so you do not make the mistakes we have made in the past. So that's basically how you do text in Premiere. It's pretty easy. There's a lot of different things you can do, so you can really have fun with this one. You know, just try a bunch of different stuff. Ultimately, once you know the basics of it, the fun part is experimenting and just trying stuff.
Yeah.
Because then you can end up with some bloopy and blant bloop.
Yeah. Bloopy and bland bloop.
Why wouldn't you want that? So thanks for watching, guys. This has been Learning with Bobby and Brent. I hope you enjoyed it. If there's any other stuff you want to see from us, please comment below. We'll do our best to get some videos out. We have a few in the bank right now, but we'll definitely add it to our list of videos we're going to make. Also, make sure to like, subscribe. That always helps us out, helps us get our videos seen. It helps the rest of Now You Know's video gets seen, which is all very helpful. Also, consider supporting us on Patreon. Every dollar counts. You can donate as little as $1 a month, and that actually goes a long way because every person who does that is an extra dollar that helps us to, invest in,
things like this.
Cameras,
batteries,
GoPros.
SD cards.
You have no idea how many SD cards and batteries we go through on a daily basis.
God, so many.
More post-it notes so we can keep notes of all the stuff we're working on. It's paper for scripts,
It really helps. It goes a long way.
All this stuff adds up, and so even just like a couple bucks a month goes a real long way. So anything you can give would be greatly appreciated. Plus we have a bunch of different pledge rewards, so if you're interested in anything like that, definitely consider taking one of those.
Yes.
So
you can win some pretty cool stuff.
Who doesn't like that?
Like signed posters.
Signed posters.
Me and Brent.
And Zach and Jesse.
And Zach and Jesse.
And Sparky?
And Sparky.
Yeah, we'll maybe just like
We'll put
some ink on his tires and just let it run over. Yeah, that's pretty cool, right?
Sounds
you want
good to
that?
Cool. All right, guys. Thanks for watching this episode of
Learning with Bloopy and Blint.
Okay, here we go. So
here we go now.
Ooh, that reminds me of the new SpongeBob song. Here we go now.
Here we go now.
I have to show you that song. It's actually